Hello, good evening and welcome to the Rock Central Comedy Car Show. My name is Anthony, I'm your host as always, and it's good to see all of you along with us. So if you are watching on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, ITV Hub or Netflix, give us a little message in the comments and let us know whether we are live. That will be wonderful. I hope you're all well. And joining me, as always, is my co-host. He's not only the world's greatest freegan, but also the Midlands' greatest MC. Please welcome along Mr. Tommy Tomsky.
Hey, how are you, Anthony?
I'm very well, Tommy. How are you, my friend?
Good. It's been a fun week. It's been interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, what have you been up to?
Well, you know, a lot of the stories that have happened to me over the years have started with the infamous lines of "I took acid one day and ... Well, on Thursday, I have a story that started with "I defrosted the freezer ... which is probably the most adult beginning to a story involving me I think is possible. Problem is the second sentence to that is I defrosted the freezer ... and found some acid in the back of it from 3 years ago. So no, it was very fun weekend. If there's anybody that knows me outside of comedy, I want to make it clear that I may or may not have taken acid. We don't know.
It's theoretical acid, is it?
Theoretically, it could
Comedy
have
acid.
happened.
Just for the purposes of the joke. That's good. It's good. It's been another interesting week in the world, hasn't it? It's just what is going on.
It's been crazy. It's nuts. As I say, if people could just, I don't know. The world's changing. The world is changing. There's a lot of good things happening. Politically, it's a very strange landscape out there, and I am not near enough qualified to traverse it in a talk show format.
No, although I was very pleased today to see that Keir Starmer's now appointed Marcus Rashford as the Shadow Home Secretary. So that's pretty good. He's managed to get the government to U-turn. Although, of course, in trade-off, that does mean Angela Rayner is in the starting lineup against Spurs on Friday night. So, although apparently she's very good on the left wing. So there we are. But additional material by Alex Hilton. Thank you, Alex. It's a crazy. It's a crazy time and lots going on. You know, we finally decided today that we do want children to be fed, which is good. Of course, everybody's in favour of that around the world, except in the Twitterverse, where of course Katie Hopkins has to stick her oar in and decide that, you know, feeding children, that's not a good thing at all, is it? So she put out a tweet today that said, do you think women should think about how they're going to feed their children before they have them? So that's some kind of weird Minority Report kind of logic there. And she's not willing to pay for other people's children. You can if you want, but she doesn't want to. So So on the basis that she's recently been begging for money herself because she's put out a PayPal link, I decided to reply back with a little reply of my own, which is, do you think women should decide how they're going to get paid for spreading hate before they start doing it? I'm not going to contribute to that. You are welcome to. That's currently at about 10,000 views. That's my tweet of the week. But I have to say, on the whole thing, the best of all was from former Liberal Democrat leader Tim Farron, who, on seeing what Marcus Rashford had done, said, right, we're on a roll. All we need to do now is get Ruud van Nistelrooy to come out in favour of proportional representation with the single transferable vote in a multi-member constituencies. So that's my roundup of Twitter this week. So there we go.
Both on the pitch and off.
There we go. So that's what's been going on in the Twitterverse this week. So shall we welcome our guests and then hop in the car on our virtual car share?
I think it's time for us to get the guests in the car.
I think we should. We'll give them a little warm welcome. So welcome along the dynamic duo tonight of Mr. Johnny Brooke and Keith Wilde. Hello, how are we, chaps?
Hello.
We haven't unlocked Keith's character yet. That's the For all the Twitch viewers out there, they'll love that because they're used to just sitting around watching other people play computer games. So
the magic, yeah.
Brilliant. So how are we doing, chaps?
Good, man. Doing alright. I've been at Johnny's today, so it's been like, he's all disabled and that, so got to come help him and work on forging them benefit forms and stuff like that. And then we've just been we've been creeping it up, having a good time, just buzzing, man.
Nice. I like the aesthetic from where you're actually recording from. I think all of our viewers want to actually know who's the hostage taker.
At what point does Stockholm Syndrome kick in? So whose gaff are we at? We're at Johnny's, are we?
Yeah.
What's the on-street parking like?
Non-existent.
We'll just, for the purpose of narrative, we'll just say the car's rolled up. We found a ramp. We've done a GTA style insane stunt bonus straight through Johnny's window, and then open the door.
I'll use my stunt crutches to launch myself in the moving vehicle.
Nicely done.
Brilliant. How's lockdown life treating you then, boys?
Oh, I'm probably as bored as I am overweight, which is quite significant.
It's a nice measure, isn't it?
And that's your fact of today.
It was on my word of the day, Tyler.
Brilliant.
Did Keith bring his guitar? That's what a lot of people want to know. Did you bring your guitar with you, Keith?
I did, yeah, I have it.
Excellent, because if we're going to a gig, you're pretty much fucked without that. So
fantastic.
Excellent. Well,
So if we were on the way to a gig, if you could choose anywhere that you've ever done a gig, where would we be on our way to right now?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Is this limited by the gigs we can actually do in terms of ability? Because I'll straight away go Comedy Store right now. Comedy Store, that's where we're going. Rather than the Red Lion the White Lion in Ripley.
Is that what you would choose, Tommy? Would you go to the Comedy Store?
Well, the White Lion in Ripley would be the last place I'd choose, actually. Although it'd be very in keeping with the anti-fascist sentiment that we've been living through recently.
Yeah, I have a feeling that phrase is just slightly convoluted. I think there's a simpler way of phrasing anti-fascist, isn't there?
Yeah.
Can't put my finger on it.
What about you, boys? And best gig you've ever been to? Where would you say?
I love doing the Comedy Lounge in Hull.
Okay,
do a lot of gigs there. Love it there. Comedy Store in Manchester. I had a set that I was meant to have like a tryout spot there. After that gone, so I've got that. That's going to happen after the lockdown. That'd be good. I love that room. And where else is it? Comedy Station in Blackpool. That's a really good one to do.
Oh, that is magical.
Yeah. Amazing.
I think apart from the one he's ended on, Frog and Bucket. there's just something about that place that where you hit your steps well, that place truly lets you know that you're doing this incredibly well, and it just sort of leaves that impression on you. I'm glad. I mean, any venue that I can float out of is a benefit given how shit my legs are. So,
well, I wasn't going to mention about how
the
the hell do you
frog
get on
scores
that
one.
stage. It's like 300 foot high.
There is that. There is the because I can focus so much on dying on the staircase, I forget about dying on the stage. So it's like it's a nice distraction for us.
Nice.
Well, have you ever done any of the Glee clubs?
I
No,
was supposed to
Yeah.
last month, but again, outside's illegal, so
Yeah.
we'll see when that happens.
That was from Dawn in the chat. Was just saying that that's one of her favourite venues is Glee. I think that's Glee Birmingham she's referring to.
Yeah.
Also, the stand in Newcastle,
Okay.
that is the one that is just blessed with some weird magic. Bless it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I don't know about you lads, but I'm missing the shit ones as well. Like I'm just desperate to be on stage. Like
Yeah.
I cannot wait until even if it's like for fucking 6 dogs.
Yeah.
Like, you like drinking and
Yeah. I
they've
basically
they've got like multicoloured hair. And they do gender studies and you know all that shit. Like even 6 of them, I'd love to annoy 6 of those. That'd be good.
The one we both did in Liverpool in that hipster place were just the crowd were like 6 people and they were all foreign language students.
Yeah.
They were here basically to learn English, so they understood pretty much nothing that were being said. And then you've got not just English, but like Yorkshire English being thrown at them. And we spent more time laughing at them not laughing at what they were supposed to because they didn't understand a single word I was saying. And then he comes on and knocks it out of the park by opening in Spanish to them. And
yeah, I went, hola, me llamo Keith, something, bibliotech.
Fantastic.
But it's them weird gigs that when you are performing to like 4 people who've been literally dragged in off the street that didn't even know a comedy night were on, they're generally annoyed by the fact that they're too polite to leave and they just got to sit there tolerating us being there. When you can get that crowd enjoying you being at it, there might literally be enough that you can put the entire gig in a single taxi.
Yeah.
But when you can get them on your wavelength, it's a nice feeling.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, this is it.
Definitely. It feels like
I love intimate gigs.
Yeah.
It does. I say I love intimate gigs. I love the gigs where there's like, as I say, if it's done well, and you can sometimes get those rooms where there's about 20 people in there, but they're making the same amount of noise that you'd expect coming from about, 50 or 60 in a bigger room that's not set out to be as I say, as intimate. So they're always the cracking gigs because you get the nuggets of gold at those gigs. Definitely. That's the thing.
Absolutely. Okay. So if we were on a car share to a gig, what's your pre-gig rituals? What are you thinking about on the way to a gig, and what would are you kind of people that prepare specifically for gigs when you know about them, or do you just kind of take it as it comes? What's your process?
It depends, like you've got like your sets that you like where you do your tight stuff, so you don't really have to think about that. You just know your time and you just do that time and your tight stuff. It's more of the thinking's like when you're doing new shit and you're trying to figure it out and throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah.
That's when you're like preparing and you don't know it, so you're running over it in your head.
Yeah.
And if not, you just chat shit. Like
yeah. Oh no, it's like if it's somewhere that we've been before and we've got a rough idea of what to expect, like mood, attendance wise, it's just a case of chatting about anything and everything because we know how it's going to work, we know how it's going to be, but whenever it's somewhere new, for some reason, again being how we are and how often we do these things together, we just seem to have like some reflex to always go back to some absolute nightmare place where it was 3 people generally furious that they turned the fruit machine off while we were on, and it's just.
Well, this is the
It's
thing
like
about
if we
car
always
sharing. This is the thing
go
about
into like new stuff expecting to be that hated. It's a nice bonus when they kind of like us, so kind of keeps us ticking over.
This is it. When you share those gig experiences, though, if you've got your key comedians that you car share with, then you know you can turn up to a car crash gig, and you've got that familiar look that you show at each other when that kind of I'm on the Titanic and it's sinking, but at least my mates are here to endure it as well.
We've had a few of these where you're just sort of looking at each other from the moment you actually sit in the room it's going to be in, and you're looking at the number or type of people in there and just thinking.
Do any of you guys use the Donald Mackerel scoring system for when you turn up to a gig where it's like in your head you're deducting points when there's like things like, all right, they've not got a poster, their PA setup is literally a guitar amp on the side of the stage. The person who's running it isn't even there that night as well.
I think this is a scoring system we need to get into, definitely. That's got better legs than me, to be fair. Because I think there's quite a few that we've done that would score frighteningly lowly on that front. But I think sometimes it's mad how like character building they are. That when you're literally like a supply teacher in like a year 2 classroom and they're all just angry feral knobheads that want to know why they've got to shut up so you can talk, and you have to talk funny enough that they actually want to shut up for you to do your thing. It's like, yeah, I kind of liked these last because I had to kind of box clever for them.
Yeah, it works. As I say, if you can change an audience straight off the bat, if you know that you're walking into a potentially hostile environment and it's like, all right, you can go on the stage, you can half-arse it, or you can do the best, which is what we should all be doing, is do the best you can do. But when you turn that audience, the feeling that you get is magical. It's magical because you know that if you can take a reluctant audience and actually bring them on board, it's insanely good gig and it pays better dividends. So,
big time.
I've had a few of those ones where I've worried for my life turning up. It's just like this one gig in Derby with there's a couple of squaddies that were absolutely pissed out of their skull, and Anthony was there that night. It was an absolute nightmare because they're strolling onto the stage area and they're trying to they don't understand. It's like, all right, you can't interact. It wasn't even just like heckling. They were physically getting onto the stage to try and interact with the acts and to try and put them down or to try and get them to not do it, but they're physically imposing. It's a bit of a nightmare, but there's tricks of how you can keep them calm, keep them sorted, but it's scary stuff at the time.
Yeah. Oh, that is that's where staying alive becomes quite an exciting achievement.
I think the worst thing about that gig was there's the guy that was doing it the worst. He came up to us in one of the intervals, and I looked down and he got blood all over his knuckles. And then he whispers in my ears the 2 sentences you don't want to hear someone saying at a gig, which is, "I've just got back from Afghanistan and my wife's left me." I don't know how to handle this one. The worst thing is you got like that bar manager's like strolling over him, ready to kick him out, and you just like he's about to walk into an almost immediate chin-in. And but luckily we told him to go to another bit of the pub, and he was all right. I think he realised he was pissing everybody off. But I tell you what, I feel sorry for the wall that he. Keeps you on your toes.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Absolutely. So, any superstitions, any rituals on the way to gigs, or are there things you always want to do, or you seem fairly chilled out, you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a Macca's on the way home.
On the way back. Yeah, I think that's obligatory, isn't it?
But no, I think it's weird because we kind of just content in the nature of this job is you could do the same set down to the breathing pattern Monday night and Wednesday night, and on Monday they could carry you out as the finest human they've ever met, and on Wednesday they're literally chasing you out with burning sticks, and it's like, I don't get this. They're the same words. Why don't you like me as well? So, because we kind of have that kind of approach to these things, it just helps us sort of relax ahead of getting there. 'Cause it's like, whatever happens, cheese bites will still taste amazing on the way home. So
that is very true. That is very true. A quick comment from the chat. Aaron Redding wants to know, was the blood on his knuckles because they were scraping on the floor?
Almost definitely, man. Almost definitely.
He was a challenge, that guy. I remember that.
It was. Just want to say, Keith, you remind me at the moment. I had a mate at college who used to put a passport photo of him looking really menacing on his lighters to stop people from nicking them. And right now, like the lighting of you in Johnny's room does look a bit like me, mate. Like that is the look that he has on his lighter that just says "fuck off, don't steal it."
Fantastic, brilliant. Another question from the chat is, what are your car share tunes? What's your playlist for getting to gigs?
oh, you won this one.
Yeah, on my Spotify, we've got loads of shit. Like, I've just got the most eclectic mix of music, like, from all, because I listen to fucking everything. We'll like listen to Stephen Lynch a lot and Rodney Carrington, like your musical comics, Angela Walker Jr., and then just literally an eclectic mix of everything from like Elvis, Beatles, Buddy Holly, to Wednesday 13 and the Book of Mormon and Burlesque, the musical, and a bit of Mamma Mia and Cher and you know, a lot of blues, like just all sorts, mate. Eclectic mix, man.
Do you ever make different? Tune like mixes for different gigs? Because I did a history-based gig up in York, and I went up with Elizabeth Vanta Black, and we played Indiana Jones theme on the way up there just to get into mood, you know. So yeah, do you guys ever like mix it up if you know you go into a bit of a trashy gig? Do you ever just like stick some punk on or out like that, or
always like, you know, that last song as you're just turning up to the gig and the sat nav says 3 minutes left, and so you like stick it on like a 4-minute song on at the 3 minute mark, and then you're like strolling up to the gig with like the tune, an iconic tune, like a good entrance tune.
I like that. That's that question from Aaron again. What's your favourite Stephen Lynch song?
I'm big on Special Olympics. That's funny as fuck. Gerbil's good. Hermaphrodite. The Dear Diaries. Loads, mate. He busts out bangers constantly.
I think it's The Night I Laid You Down.
Yeah.
For me, just because I've been married and I know I've had pretty much that type of argument 843 times, so it hits a few notes for me, that one.
Brilliant. I love that. When you said my Spotify, I thought it was like, what, you listen to your own Spotify on the way to gigs? Wow, that's some ego.
It's when he's forgotten the lyrics to his own songs, so he's just having to play it along.
Harry what? What was it again? Harry? We should probably take that opportunity to plug the fact that you are available on Spotify and hilarious.
Spotify, Apple Music.
On Napster. You're on LimeWire.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Blockbuster as well.
Fantastic. Right, well, I reckon we've arrived at the venue now, so let's transition into the venue. So you get to a venue. What's your first thing you're doing? Are you kind of wander around and have a look at the local neighbourhood, or do you get in and get a drink and start with notes? What's the process?
we go in and check that it's the right place.
Yep.
And then
That sounds like the voice of experience.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It happens. It happens.
So we'll do that, and then I'll find I'll go outside for a cigarette once I've confirmed that it is in fact the correct venue, and then we'll go find the guy, whoever it is we're meant to be looking for. Like it could be, it could be like the owner of a club, who's really cool.
Yeah. My favourite one is when you get there and they go...
Have eyes, and it's like a bit concerning.
Yeah. So it's when you rock up and they go, oh, is that tonight? Oh.
That's my favourite. It happened to me and Benny Shakes when we went up to Liverpool. So we drove all the way up to Liverpool. It turns out the guy had messaged every single act on the lineup except for Benny and me. And because Benny's got cerebral palsy, so he's basically he's neglected the one person on his lineup that probably could do with not driving 70 miles up to Liverpool to do a gig that ended up being cancelled. But it happens, you know what I mean? I think Benny positioned him for two other gigs.
Week before lockdown, a few days before we all shut down, that week I had a gig. Yeah. I went to I don't know, fucking Halifax or some shit.
Oh, Newcastle, weren't it?
Newcastle, yeah. And fucking, I'm at the door and the gig's not on.
It's madness.
Good. I think my last gig before lockdown, I wasn't even on the bill. I was just going up to support. And I was in the group chat, and I think it was like an open mic night. It was a Sunday night up in Yorkshire. And I think when we left at about midday, there was 8 acts. By about 4 o'clock, we were down to 4 acts. By the time we got to the venue, we had 3 acts and I was the MC. So, but the gig happened.
Is that it by any chance?
The gig happened. That's the main thing. That was fun. It was just people just falling over with COVID because it was literally the night before. Everything got like that.
Oh no.
Mate, were you lot all joking on stage about Corona week off? I was doing the day before they shut everything down. Cracking a Rona joke, mate.
Yeah. Need to do something.
Remember those days when we were let out?
Yeah. So, what are your boys'? What's the worst ever gig that you guys have ever done together?
God.
You don't have to name names or venues. Just describe it.
If we say a northern town starting with W.
Okay.
That'll do.
That's the one we genuinely, from the moment we got there and got shouted at for going through the wrong door.
Oh.
There's no marks on anything. It's the first time we've come to a place. It weren't like we opened the door to the ladies. It was to another part of the bar, but she starts screaming at us for it being the wrong one.
Oh,
and then it was just 7 pubs under one roof. They had that many random contradictory shit things happening the same night that we were having to do our gig under the tellies. They got all the Champions League games on at the same night that they had a pool competition. All these things happening around each other, and we've got this one tiny corner room where it's just now can we go home?
At least they're giving you some semblance of a green room for you to kind of cry.
It was a mad one. It's just bombing. In fact, it wasn't because I enjoy a really bad bomb. When I know I'm fucking absolutely tanking it. I kind of enjoy it because I look for the comics in the back. It's when there's you don't know any of the other comics and there's people talking over it, so it's not even and it's just you do the first joke and you're just nothing, and you're just oh mate, oh shit,
nothing.
It's fucked now, isn't it?
It's the fear for me is when I go on after him, I quite enjoy that because for how sickeningly good he is, going on after him, you know that room is happy and giddy and ready to do laughing. But when he's gone on first, and as good as he is, nothing, I'm like,
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it? I've been
It's
there where you follow in an act that you know is red hot, and
yeah,
you've seen them do a great set and just got nothing out of it. It's
yeah,
like, where do we go from here?
yeah,
No, that is hard.
yeah.
yeah,
That is really hard.
It's weird. It's weird though, isn't it? Because sometimes you get like a good act, like you say, who's like you set the room, everything's really good,
yeah,
then you go on and you can ride that wave. Sometimes, as I say, I went on after Laura Monmouth at the NCF Canal House, and I died
yeah.
on my arse. Like she'd done an absolutely fantastic job, especially considering she's got all the tech that she uses and stuff. But that was a tough gig. But I've done gigs before when someone's been like, absolutely dog shit before I've gone on stage and just capitalized on that. But then
Oh
I've done
yeah,
gigs where someone's done really awful. They've sucked the air out of the room, and it's been really hard to
Yeah.
build on it. And it's like there's no clear formula
no.
to be able to kind of gauge it. I suppose you just have to dive in and swim.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that we're lucky that where we've done gigs where there's been like that scenario of someone's literally like carpet bombed the building, let alone the room. Surrounding postcodes are suffering
And dogs are
a drop
howling.
in emotional energy. And you've got to go on after that. And it's like, Christ, for how dry and downbeat and me I am, me, of all people, bringing energy back into this room will be a miracle. And again, it's that weird feeling when you're like 2 minutes in and you can feel like the dead are reborn, and it's like, okay, this is why I do this. This is, I know I can't then take this to Tesco and say, I'll pay for this basket of stuff with the good feeling from last night, but at the same time, it is still kind of one of the best things you can earn is just that feeling of, I did that.
No, I know what you mean.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
Totally know what you mean. Yeah, and you're right. You never know, do
yeah,
you? Because when a room's gone weird, you don't know what it's going to take.
yeah,
And I think sometimes when that's happened, you go on stage with a different mindset anyway, because you're like nothing to
yeah,
lose. The room's dying, so I'll try that. I'll try that
yeah,
thing that I wouldn't normally risk, or
yeah,
you lose all your apprehensions and nerves, don't you? Because you literally have nothing
yeah,
to lose, and
yeah.
then sometimes it just bounces back, and you get a great gig.
yeah.
It's
Very
So,
true.
a
true.
question from the chat is best rider venue. Who's got the best green room and who provides the best flavour of Watsits?
Um, I love the lounge.
Yeah,
Love the lounge. Good green room. They've got an upstairs room, like a functions room as well, and that's got a green room in it now. So that's a good hang. Um, Blackpool again.
yes,
Like these are his favourite clubs, man. That we like. They're where
yeah,
we're like breaking in as much as we can and
yeah,
trying to get on their
definitely.
radar because it's just good rooms, mate. Good crowds, and it's
Um,
what you want.
it sounds an obvious one, I know, but the Comedy Store, believe it or not, has some incredible sets.
Yeah,
What words needs to come out of this face so that it's putting free pizza into it in this room more often.
brilliant. And
But
final.
again, similar to what he was saying in terms of like the stand as well, incredible as it is as a venue, that green room there is just,
Yeah, hot water as well. That's got a really
yeah,
cool green room. It's got like
Nice.
a telly and it's got a camera of like showing what's going on
yeah,
stage.
Did any of you guys had a chance to do Nilo Dwyer's parents' pub before he got his own pub? A
no,
while back in Derby. So Nilo Dwyer's like Derby-based comedian pro, but he's got his own pub, and his parents owned a pub, and they were doing gigs there about a year or so ago, and his
yeah,
mum cooked a banging chili with like fucking huge wedges as well. It's definitely best took I've had a gig because it's like homemade cooked meal. But I think it bolsters your set when you know you're looked after, and that's the thing.
Well, I think this is it. Like one of the first green rooms I ever went in were a Manford's night. So because I'm walking in, seeing like all these branded signs, and they said, "Oh, we'll take you backstage just to wait for everything kicking off." And I'll be honest, I'm doing like little seal claps of giddiness. And then they take me into a room that's basically 2 broken fridges and a lost and found box. And you could like sit on one of the fridges until it was your turn to go out, and it was like, oh, this is the glamour. Then this is.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's weird as you sort of start this journey. You've got all these expectations of, and then you do these places that back it up, and you do the places that are like, okay, this is different to what I was expecting, but it's fun. Crack on.
Absolutely. So, Kevin Daniels joined us, and he says the best and only rider he's ever had was at the Stockton Arc. He was 14th out of 16 on, and too nervous to eat any of it, and there were Jaffa cakes.
That, if you overlook how truly terrifying that gong is, the green room is palatial.
Yeah, Dawn's backing you up. Lovely gig. So, #lovely gig.
Yeah. Because I remember the first time we did this, Keith were doing his Wonderwall tune that you will find on Spotify when you look for him later. And all I can hear is 300 and odd people singing the lyrics back at him. So I'm like, right, I'm not winning this. How many bags of Monster Munch can I fit in my coat pocket to get something out of this? It's just, if I ain't getting cash, I'm at least getting calories. And the fact that there were more Monster Munch than I had coat or hoodie pockets pretty much sums up how well catered that room is.
That's pretty impressive. Brilliant. Okay, so I don't think we've asked you guys, how did you first get started? Jeez.
I think mine were just that when you're funny and people keep telling you you are and that you ought to do this and you ought to. And so I wrote some words and contacted the Verve in Leeds because I got told that were like the main place that if you're starting out in Yorkshire to try and give it a go at. And I rocked up there having forgot every single word I'd wrote because of how nervous I was. So I genuinely sat up there for however long just talking off the top of my head about everything and nothing and just kept getting massively shocked every time they laughed, and I'm like, huh?
Hey, at least you had the intention of writing down a set. I've met quite a few people that have just gone into comedy, not written a single thing, and just been like, "Oh, my friends in the pub find me funny, so it should just translate to me just talking to people on stage."
So it's 5 minutes of racism for you, but we've seen a few of them.
So many.
Again, one for the anti-fascist crowd.
Making a comeback, I hear.
Oh, I wonder if some plucky promoter is going to try and capitalise on all this statue protecting and hold a gig just like around or near one of these statues whilst they're protecting it.
That would be mental.
It would.
Keith, you started off as a musician, didn't you? That was your way into comedy.
Kinda, yeah. Because I was about 16, like just about to turn 17, and I did a gig on Halloween night with a band, and it was shit. And then, but I'd been playing funny songs to my friends, and then I ended up doing the music scene for literally, because I was 16, I was doing coffee shops and stuff where you can't drink, and school talent competitions and shit like that, trying to Beer Keller's Got Talent in Leeds, and just anywhere that had a 16, 17-year-old on stage. And then once I'd hit all the night nights, I just ended up doing all these music nights, and I was pretty much right out of college, just went full time for a year, and I was like doing covers gigs on the weekend. I had like a residency and I had like a bar job, and then in the week I would do all my comedy songs and try all them out, and eventually I built up like an hour, and then came on the comedy scene like 2 years ago.
Boom. Because that's one of our other rough gigs we did in my part of the world where we met.
Oh, in Ansel, yeah.
Yeah. Just one of them where it was a lovely idea, but from like the opening minute, it were clear that it were a room that didn't want to have comedy in it. And I'd never seen Lado before, so the moment he went up there and actually did his first 3 tracks, and they actually started turning round to look where the stage was, and I'm thinking, well, there's no bigger badge of honour than that. If I am going to go on tonight, I'll go on after him while they're still facing that way.
And before they realise someone else is on.
This is it. It's like, right, if I kind of talk while they're still listening, I might hear some of that laughter noise come back at us. So, yeah, I think that will like the eye opener as to what a talent the lad is, and then we just pretty much
rode together ever since.
Yeah.
How long had you been doing comedy, Keith, before that gig that I saw you at in Skipton? Because that was the first gig I'd done with you, which was a free ring circus of a gig. It was fun. Just watching Adam Hughes just laying into a load of cokeheads at the bar was pure joy in its own right.
Yeah.
Man, that Skipton gig is like, I've always said Hughes is the best at booking like a shithole and just turning it into like the place to be for a night. Like he's just so good at turning a room on its like just you're not expecting something so cool to come out of that room and so like hilarious and fun.
I mean, the fact that because of how the stage is set up, I have to, like someone with a baby fetish, crawl onto the wooden bit, to climb on the bench bit, to sit. So these people that sometimes don't even want comedy there have spent 3 minutes watching this knobhead crawl across 2 bits of furniture to then start talking. And the fact that I still adore that place and would do it any given Sunday, it tells you something about the like weirdly mad energy of it, that there's nowhere else like it. It's just awesome.
Yeah. It is pure magic, magic.
Yeah, but before that Skipton gig, Tommy, I'd probably been, because that was like last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's about probably about a year and 3 months ago, I reckon, something like that.
Yeah, so like I probably started on the comedy scene. I did like Jocularity in Wakefield like middle of 2018, and then I did like the Verve, and then I landed my sen on this like like an audition middle spot on some gig in Leeds with Freddie Quid on it, and they just kept asking around, and they just said do gongs. That's probably your best way to, if you're good, just to get on.
Yeah.
So I did the Comedy Lounge in Hull, did their gong and landed a middle there, and then I've just been doing middles ever since like January 2019.
Nice. Because when I saw you, it was very polished stuff. Like it was like you were literally at a level that, I mean, you got Sam Serrano at that gig, you got Jimbo, who everyone knows Jimbo's been going for years. and there was like and there was like me, Alex, Liam, Elizabeth Fanta Black, but we were all like pretty. I think we've been going fairly solidly for a while, apart from Elizabeth. But like as I say, she pretty much just swam into comedy, with pretty much no problems at all. So it's but you were at that level, man. You were really, really good.
Thank you, man. Nice. Yeah, it's just you just got to put that stage time in. Just do stage time, like, and I get more stage time because of I can do a music night, as long as I don't go too often, because they don't like me singing about pubes and bums.
Have you ever found that there's an audience that hasn't chimed well at all with your kind of material? So you know that the other comics are doing all right, but your material's not quite landing well with that audience. Because I'll be honest with you, I panic when I see a silver tide in an audience. Like I want the old uns to love me, you know, I really do, but they really don't like me as much as I like them. So
I did a middle at the Ark, the Stockton one, and it was coming up to my daughter's 18th, and that's when I had the incredible idea of getting a big crowd at a big venue to sing Happy Birthday Ginger Cunt for her.
oh my God.
Now, there's some directional issues on my part where some people just sung those words, some people tried singing the actual full Happy Birthday song, and the rest just booed because they thought I was disgusting. So I promptly deleted that, but it was just that really weird measure of knowing exactly what ratio of the crowd despised your existence, because they weren't just happy to sit quietly while the others sang it, they booed so you couldn't use it, and it was like, yeah, this is maybe one night where even cheese bites won't taste nice on the way home, because this has been bad.
Yeah, but the big box of McNuggets would do it. That will take away the taste of a bad gig.
Oh, indeed.
So does your daughter come to your gigs often, Johnny? Because I've got a daughter that comes to my gigs, and she gets embarrassed sometimes.
Well, I think because she is like the star of the final section of it, it's a kind of a split personality thing. She loves sitting anonymously in the crowd, hearing everyone howl at. But when she's then stood next to us on the way home and all these strangers want to talk to her, and she's like...
yeah, that's when the fame gets too much.
Yeah.
So when my daughter's at my gigs, I like to talk to her. I like to catch up with her on stage. And usually ask her about who she's dating, because she's 16. Yeah. And one of her boyfriends who'd been to, because I said to her, I don't want to meet any of your boyfriends unless they turn up gig and talk to me on stage. If they're not brave enough to do that, they ain't worth your hand in marriage or whatever. But this one lad, like, he turned up and he's eating chicken on front row of the gig, and I'm asking him all these questions: how much land do your parents own? How many bannermen can you raise in case of a war with another house? And it was going all right, but then the next month he'd already cheated on her. So, and she was like devastated, but she still came to me gig, and I got the whole audience shouting, because his name was something stupid like Jevo. I think it was Jevo, and we just got everyone, like about 40 people in this room, just going, "Jevo is a wanker, Jevo is a wanker," and she recorded it on her phone and fucking sent it to him as well. So he's got 40 strangers in a room telling him he's a tosser. That's it. Anthony, would you bring your kids to a gig at any point? Because I know yours are probably getting close to the age.
I still think they're a bit young. They're 13 and 11. So I've told them they're not allowed to watch this.
That's cruel, because one of them's actually done the theme music. So.
I'll clip the last 2 minutes so he can see that his theme music got used. That's what I'll do. I think I'd really struggle if my kids were at a gig. I think I'd feel self-conscious about it. Although I've had my mum at a gig, and that wasn't too bad. But yeah,
it's surprisingly easy. I think the thing is, it depends what relationship you got with your family. So, I mean, my dad came to a gig once, but he's a racist, and I had Ishii Khan on the lineup as well, and I could just see his eyes constantly rolling back every time she mentioned the Muslim faith, and it was just worth it just for that, to be fair.
My mum always, whenever I used to live with them, whenever I'd write a new song, I'd have to play it to my dad, right? I always play it to my dad once I've written a new song. And but if my mum's downstairs, like, while I'm playing a recording of it to my dad, I had a song about vibrators that I wrote once.
No.
And I played it, and at the end, the song finished, and she just went, "Can't you just write a nice song for once?"
Did not write a power ballad.
Yeah, just especially for you.
I had this this really nice moment where I actually ended up in like this On Yorkshire website with a review of like the early gigs and how I were doing. And my mum saw that and got really all proud and like welled up. She's like, "Oh well, what kind of stuff is it you're doing?" And I'm thinking, how is it I explained to her that the main part of the set is how angry my dad was at the 30 years you won't suck him off? So I literally had to go away and write a completely different set so that when that got recorded and I could send her a link to it, there were no mention of that for her to see. And it was like, yeah, if you're going to have a family, don't do comedy about it. It backfires.
Definitely not. No, keep the two separate, I think, wherever possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Church
Yeah,
and state.
exactly.
Church and state.
Or at the very least, just change names. That's fine.
Or just use the caveat, maybe my mother, maybe not my mother. It's involved in this.
It's even worse than like just singing about like talking about like doing drugs and like just all sorts of shit and like your mum's there and it's like just you just can't do it. Like you've got to put an end to that event.
Yeah. A line drawing.
I'd be honest with you, I'd talk about all that kinds of shit in front of my mum quite happily.
Yeah.
She had to put up with me and kick me out, so I was like, may as well make her laugh, you know. But yeah, this is it. Are we staying in the venue at the moment? Have we got any more questions about
no more
venue?
questions. A couple of comments. Graham Rayner says, "Oh, you've had your mum at a gig, have you, Anthony? I've had your mum at a gig too." And he would never bring Fred and Rose to any gigs, which is understandable.
Who's that? Is that Graham Gaynor? Is that?
Have we done best ever gig ever?
Yeah, we've done bad gigs. We've not done good gigs. What's your best ever gigs?
I had a gig once. It isn't like grandiose or anything, but as you all know, I've got a song called "Hairy Vagina" and it's quite well known, right? Like it got like a bunch of views, like when I wrote it years ago, and then I've just had to play it at every gig since. Like I can't escape it. Like people just think it's so funny, and the more I become disassociated with it, like that I like want to distance myself from it, like the more people like ask me to like play it and they just all know the words and there's nothing like a room full of people screaming out of vagina but and singing about pubes and I was once doing this gig in Wakefield and I was just bombing at like a music open mic. There was like 2 people in and they were like other musicians and they were like, "Oh, this isn't Ed Sheeran, what's going like?" You know? And then, as I'm literally first verse of Hairy Vagina, and as the first chorus comes in, about 20 people like hear the song from like outside, and they just come running in and just start going "Hairy Vagina" like right on the. I was like, "Holy shit!" And all the other people in the bar were like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like,
it's like your stadium anthem, though, isn't it, Keith?
Oh,
yeah, it was like I summoned them. Like they thought it looked planned. Like it was weird.
That is amazing.
Yeah, they absolutely love both of you boys down at that Heach gig that me and Anthony run.
That were a magical night.
That's a cracking venue.
But
that's up there. That's one of the favourite ones we've done.
Because as a night, everyone seemed to like off the middle of the batty. There were never any lull, and the fact that it just kept building more and more and more, and the fact that that poor ginger kid that were in there and everyone had
everyone had a bit of
bomb to throw, and it was just like so coincidentally brilliant that like in terms of atmosphere and crowd reaction, I've done some of the bigger places and not left feeling anywhere near as awesome about being me and doing this as that night, because it was just like this this is why I spent like 10 minutes putting trainers on my disobedient feet so that I could experience that.
That's really nice to hear, actually, because we do care when we put gigs together, and we really think about how are we going to make this work, who's right for this, and what order do we put people on, and if we go with this act this month, then what do we follow it with the next month, and it's not just picking names out of the hat. So that's really nice to hear.
You can see in the results of the nights that the structure you put into it sort of complements it all, and it just keeps it moving up. So
it's a trifecta. You want to make sure your acts are happy, your audience are happy, and the venue's happy. And if you can do that, if you can satisfy all three of them things, you've won, basically. It's like that Heege gig that we did was the first gig that I'd done after the car crash, and I needed that good gig because surviving that, I'm just being like, right, I need a mindset where I can just do what I do. But it's only made up by the people that you're doing it with at the end of the day.
This is it, because like the marquee one for me, we're doing Backyard down in London, because it was like the first time I'd done a London thing, and it was like, okay, this is shiny. And so you walk in and there's the poster of like your TV folk that have been on in like the 2-3 weeks before, and it's like, okay. Yeah. Keep breathing, dickhead. Now's not a place to die. And then like everybody that's gone on is doing really well, and at the interval it's like, oh, you on next, mate? Oh yeah. What kind of stuff you doing? Do they know about that stuff down here? And I'm literally convincing myself, have Londoners heard of Bourbons? And
I've not gigged in London. I've not gigged there yet.
It was a surrealness of like leaving the venue after to like literally hearing people in the bar doing like cries of like Yorkshire, and it's like, okay, I had dreams of how tonight might have gone, but to come here and leave having left that impression on them, this is like the dream being lived, even if I have just spent like weekend city break money on doing 10 minutes unpaid work. Again, that feeling from it, it's like, no, there's no what I could have bought with that cash that would have made us feel as good.
No, there's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it. No. So we've had an amazing gig, and the night's ended. We're on our way home. What's that like for you guys? And obviously there's a Mackie D's run, because that's obligatory, right?
Yeah.
But what else?
Bring out the heroin.
Because I know, Tommy, whenever we gig, we always do an in-car debrief on the way back, and we talk about everything.
Always.
We talk about what the venue was like, and how the MC was, what the promoter was like, what kind of crowd it was. So what's that look like for you guys?
I think Saltaire's our best example of this, isn't it?
You can tell that one.
So what usually tends to happen is, it's weird to describe without sounding like proper divas, but because we tend to do really well whenever we're on, as we're leaving, it usually takes us ages for the fact that his bladder is smaller than a bottle cap and my legs are shit. So it's taken forever to get out of the place anyway. And then I'll be outside first while he's in the gents, and I'll be getting all these people coming up to us, oh, you were incredible, you're so brave, so courageous that you come out and do this, it's so well done of you. And then he comes walking out, and suddenly as he stood beside me, and they'll just literally stop mid-breath of talking to me, but you, I'm off home to wank about you. And he just does that often. He's like, oh, thank you. Just remember to add us on Spotify.
Never stop plugging. Never stop plugging.
But it's weird how often there's like that pattern of that they'll always pick up on the funny, but there's some British pity thing that needs them to like reward me for being brave enough to be alive.
Have you ever heard the immortal words of, oh, well, I at least found you funny?
It's normally when it starts with never mind. Never mind, mate. I thought you were good.
I've lived a life of awkward feelings, but it's that point where thankfully I've not had it too often, but you're stood next to other comics from that night,
Yeah.
and the crowd go to talk to them about how much they enjoyed them, and you're stood counting 34p in change like you've 18 quid of it, and you need to really focus on how much is there, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
no.
I've seen worse.
Yeah.
There are promoters that will do that in front of you as well. So
Oh,
you were brilliant, mate. Yeah, you not so much.
I did a gig. I did like an audition recently, and I guess it was in Durham, and I guess it was like a bunch of posh. I won't say the name of like the event. I guess it was like posh people because I went up and the MC's really trying to get their attention, and then the opener who I've seen curl a million times, he like kind of suffered and like couldn't quite get him on board, and then I went out and I had like 2 tables who were up for singing about the woman and the lazy eye and the lazy cop guns and all that shit. But then, but I knew I was like, whilst there's these 2 tables that are they're proper into it, like behind them, I can just hear nothing. Like literally, I can't hear anything from behind these 2 tables, and it's like 100-seater. So I was like, this is very peculiar, and then and just fucking, I just like, I knew it went bad, and I went outside, and I think it's the sound guy is meant to give you feedback or something, and he just walked straight past me, like
Head down.
Head down. This is it. I mean, the thing is, when you've got a gig where you've only got like a certain portion of people listening, you have to just focus on those people. It's like doing the high dive. You're going to focus on the diving pool, not the paddling pool that 300 yards away. So yeah, it's one of those things. You gotta just dive in and swim in a lot of gigs. When you guys have finished a gig, so sometimes you'll be like, because there's always a come down. No matter what kind of gig you've had, there's always a come down. If you've had a really good gig, you've got to spend a bit of time just kind of going, right, well, I need to kind of suppress some of this adrenaline rush. Or when it's been a shit gig and you've just been like, I want to cry right now. How do you guys kind of handle those kind of come downs, as it were?
Just the old cocaine and bit of meth and back up. No, we usually we slag off all the comics who bombed, and then we say it was really well, and then if we did shit, we say, oh, they don't fucking know anything anyway, and then
do your own Peter Fox review on the way back from the gig. I think that's what most comedians do. They'll just literally go through it act for act and just go.
I just remember like the weirdest review experience I ever had. I did a gig somewhere in Yorkshire and a mate were at it, and I do like the Maddie thing at the start, and he says, I was just looking at this married couple at a table. He nearly fell off his chair laughing. She nearly broke her collarbone scowling at him. She was so disgusted by you and him laughing at you. The entire rest of your set is him literally biting the lower half of his face off not to laugh at you so that he didn't end up on the settee for a week. And it was just like this weird awareness that they were around the corner from us, so I couldn't see him. And it was like, to know that one set of words can have literally that impact on one table and be like, wow, that is weird.
It is weird. Me and Anthony had a gig that's a bit like that when we went up to Leeds with Benny Shakes, and he had like 2 people in the other, a couple sat at the front, and the woman laughing her head off at all the stuff that Benny said. Husband nudged her and was like, "Don't laugh." And it's because he's got like cerebral palsy, and he obviously thought, okay, I'm gonna reach that next level of wokeness, and I'm not gonna allow myself to laugh at someone who I think is exploiting themselves. But Benny says what the fuck he wants. To be fair, he's good with that.
Well, this is it. Well, I remember the mad reaction he used to get when I used the word spastic, and it's like, I'm talking about me. It's all right to laugh.
This is it. People have that kind of that weird thing, though. I mean,
Yeah.
as I say, the guy in question that was telling his wife to shut up actually ended up being an act that wasn't performing that night that we ended up performing a gig with in Halifax as well, which makes it worse because he should know better. But in fairness, he was using loads of hack jokes, and his material was like, I think he tried to pass off a Tommy Cooper joke as one of his own. So Benny got the last laugh on that because we were in belly laughs on the way back from that gig. What the fuck was this guy thinking?
Oh, what is wrong with people?
Well, this is it.
Everything.
Yeah. So after a gig, you gone your nuggets, you had your debrief. Are you starting to think about the next gig then? Because I know for me, like the only way of getting over come down is thinking about when can I do this again and that kind of thing. So is it pretty? Do you sort of subscribe to the kind of Millikan's law? You know, whatever happens, it's over by the next morning, and you move on to the next one, or do you dwell on stuff? Or
kind of, yeah. For me, I never count them as like a continuous thing. Every gig, no matter how many there is in that week, is its own event. And no matter how well it goes, it doesn't guarantee me a win at the next one. No matter how bad that went that time, it doesn't mean it's going to dive again the one after. So it's just sort of treating every 10, 15, 20 as its own thing and just accepting that there are just going to be some nights where you can be the funniest human in the world. But if they've all paid £2.50 for the ticket and they're just expecting to see McIntyre blandness about a Messi draw, and it's like, I don't really have any of that stuff.
Yep.
If you can just not glass me while I'm up here, then we'll all get home happily.
Yeah. You're only as good as your next gig, I suppose.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any kind of tips on how you actually get gigs or keep your calendar full? Obviously, outside of these random times that we're living in at the moment.
It's get on the forums, sign up for anything that you're qualified to do, learn how to get a little CV together. Just have a video done. It doesn't have to be like a professional video, just enough something to send a booker to say this is where my act is, so you'll get booked on the appropriate nights if you apply for them. Just do it every night. Just do it as much as you possibly can. No plan B, and do it every night. It's the only way to get good.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that we do quite well, I don't talk to anyone, he just talks for both of us, is while we're at gigs, because we will come across as nice and amiable and supportive and positive and just not just funny on stage, but funny to know and be around, just being regarded as people you can enjoy spending the night of that booking with can get you as many people interested in having you on the bill as your set itself. Because we've had quite a few of them where just for how well we get on with folk that we're on the road with, we tend to pick up a lot through that as well.
I think that's important. Certainly when we're booking gigs, one of the things you're thinking of is, do I want to spend a night in a room with this person? Because regardless of how funny you are, if you're annoying, I don't want to be sat in a pub with you for 4 hours, you know. And just silly stuff like, how reliable are you likely to be? Because it's your booker's worst nightmare is, you get to 5 o'clock and you lose an act. It throws everything. Especially when you've put time into setting up a lineup where you've thought about how the dynamic's going to work, and suddenly one piece of that jigsaw and it throws everything. So things like that are important. Are they going to show up? Are they going to do the act I think they're going to do? Are they going to be pleasurable to be around? And all of that sort of stuff plays into it, I think, especially for newer acts. I think definitely. Because we book people that tend to be at the newer end of the spectrum. We know they're not the finished article, but if they're honest, hardworking, willing to take feedback, good fun to be around, they're more likely to get gigs and get better than your prima donnas who's done 3 open mics and thinks they're McIntyre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are a challenge to get along with, bless them. But, you know.
But I have to say, most
They do.
people
Well,
in
they-
this business are nice. So that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's majority.
I
Yeah.
think
Show
that
business is a very because none of us want a fight to kick off
No.
because it would just get in the way of
Yeah.
us doing the thing we want to do. So
Yeah.
no one in show business is like fighty. Like
No.
very few people are, or argumentative even. Like everyone's acting like they've got they're on Facebook Live all the time with
Yeah.
TMZ, like some app in it.
Yeah.
Like everyone's kind of acting like that a lot all the time. You're always aware of that, so everyone's nice. They're on the best
Yeah.
behaviour. Like being that unprofessional isn't like accepted.
So I
Really.
suppose
Yeah.
a gig
I mean,
is as much a gig as it's also actually a job interview, isn't it? Because of the other people you're gigging with, half of them probably book nights anyway. So
Yes.
bad reviews spread like fire. I mean, I'm not a big fan of like cancel culture or anything like that, but
Yeah.
if you know that there's an act that's consistently either been pissy off stage or they've just tanked at a lot of gigs,
Yeah.
then promoters, they just find out about it. I mean, we
Oh,
talk,
yeah.
and that's the thing. And you've got an obligation to your audience to make sure that you're going to be getting people that can bring home the bacon. And
Oh, yeah. Because this is it. This is how the nights of yours in particular keep growing, because you keep putting lineups of that nature together. That brings more people in, that allows you to bring more or better acts in, and it all kind of grows in tandem together. So it's a beautiful thing.
yeah, it's a formula. If you're doing an open mic night and you're putting on brand spanking new acts, then
Yeah.
the formula I go for is, if it's an open mic, you try not to go over 7 acts if
Yeah.
possible. Obviously, Dog and Moon don't count. Anthony,
Anyone
when that
can
were
have
going,
that.
that was like that were a 10 act like anyone can do. But some of the rooms is like, if you go over the ratio of say 2 new acts and 5 established-ish acts, or
Yeah.
acts that have been going that you know are going to be all right, then you know that those newer acts, they can tank and it's not going to ruin the night. But you'll get a lot of people, they'll first get into comedy, they'll go, right, I want to put all my mates on, but we're all at the same level, we've not been doing it more than a couple of months, and that's how you drive comedy out of towns and in droves, and that's something like, it drives me nuts. I've been so many nights like that where I've just been like, I'm surrounded by people who literally don't know what the fuck they're
Oh,
doing.
but this is it. It's just like literally 7 people doing in jokes to each other that only make sense to them, and it's like,
I went to a gig with 3 acts that in a row, 3 acts that dropped within the first couple of lines of their set. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. And it was just the third person who done it. I was just like, all right. So you've found this, like, you've sketched comedy like with tracing paper doing that.
yeah.
You've gone, this is what comedian sounds like, this is what I should be doing. And it's not the case.
I'm aching just at the thought of that, let alone actually experiencing it.
yeah, it happens. It happens a lot.
It does.
I love those gigs as much as I love the good ones.
I mean, it's weird because of how many gigs we've done, like be it separately or together. I kind of think that I've seen more deaths than a coroner. It's just, it's weird. And sometimes I love that journey, that when you see someone at maybe gig 5 and you've been like, who told you to do this? And then you see them 3 months later and it's like, wow, whatever you've done in between, I want a slice of it, because this is incredible. And I know I'm in the right company when I get so happy seeing other people coming up like that, and you can see that I'm not a one-off. There's a general vibe of, we really enjoy seeing people polish their set and polish their acts, and sort of, even if they don't change the words, there's just something about their personality coming across clearer and better in how they're doing it. And it's like, yeah, this is great that I get to see people on the journey like this and how they're making their way through this. And it's like, yeah, that is a sweet little thing to come up on. And then obviously that high gets crushed by someone else who, again, you've not seen for a couple of months, but they kind of
They've somehow got worse.
yeah.
No, you're right. It is really
Yeah.
rewarding, isn't it? Because the circuit
Yeah.
that we're all kind of on. We see the same people fairly regularly, and we dip in and out of each other's regions and stuff.
Yeah.
And it is amazing when you see an act and you go, yeah, they're all right, they're okay, and then you see them 3 months later and you're like, wow, and it's the same set, and you think, whoa, that's real progress, and it's all down to hard work, isn't it?
Oh, it is definitely sort of. You look at the comics who I don't have the work ethic for it, but they're literally writing in the venue on the night, something that came to them in the car, or something they've just seen in the crowd, or they're on in the second half, and there are things that MCs or the acts have done with the crowd, and they're working on how to put that into, and it's like, no, I can just about remember the words I got here with. If I try and add to that now, I'll have an accident. So it's an envy to see people who can like adapt on that level, that they can turn up with their set, but have the confidence in them to add to it based on stuff they're seeing happening in the room rather than.
That's pretty special. Fantastic. Right. Well, we've gone slightly over time actually, but Keith, do you have your guitar with you? You're going to sing us out, and then we'll say goodnight to folks.
Okay.
So, while Keith's getting his guitar, thank you very much for joining us for our first proper pilot. I'm assuming it all worked because I didn't get 1,000 text messages of people going, "We can't hear you." So that's good.
Yeah, got one that said "slick." That's got to be good, isn't it?
So I think this has been good fun. If you're watching this and you've enjoyed it, then let us know and we'll do it again. If you've watched it and you've hated it, then don't bother. That'll be fine. It's not like there's a shortage of online comedy to sate your appetite. So go on.
It's the great content Russia 2020.
Exactly.
All them prospectors mining for nuggets of gold, mate.
So we do have a request actually, Keith, but you'd be shocked to see what it is. Chris Pilkington would like hairy vagina. But it's up to you, mate. This is your moment to shine. So you do sing us out with whatever you like, mate.
I'll do hairy vagina. I haven't done it in a while. It's weird. It's weird going back to singing about you. It's, back at work. Right. I was chilling in my crib, texting a girl who was fine. She said, if you show me yours, I'll show you mine. I said, okay, baby. And she came round. But I felt nauseous when I went down. She's got a hairy vagina and it's coming out the sides. She's got a hairy vagina and I don't know why. I shouldn't be bothered, no. I shouldn't really care. But I'm quite worried that there's animals trapped in there. She said, what's wrong, darling? I said nothing, I just feel sick. She said, you okay though? Do you still want to do it? Now I'm not superficial, it's just that I was in shock. I said, let's just cuddle, 'cause it might get tangled round my cock. She's got a hairy vagina and it's coming out the sides. She's got a hairy vagina, and I don't know why. I know it was popular in 1972, but things have changed now, and she's ginger too. It's just as hairy on her tush. Tumbleweed blows through it when it's hush. She needs conditioner from Lush just to sort out that big old bush. She's got a hairy vagina, key change fucking yes mate, coming out the sides. She's got a hairy vagina. And I don't know, sing along kids. She's got a hairy vagina, and it's coming out the sides. She's got a hairy vagina. And I don't know, that's right, I don't know. No, I don't know why.
Hey.
Fantastic.
You singing along to that with my headset on, I felt a bit like Britney Spears, to be fair.
Brilliant, lads. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope everybody watching has had a good time. We'll see you soon. And if you fancy coming on the show, let us know. And we'll see you in the meantime. Stay safe, stay sane, and arrivederci. Yep. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.